What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4. We're deep into it. It's week 3 of college football. We had some big shakeups, some almost shakeups, and then we'll get into some NFL too. I know Buddha's jumping at the bit to to get on his his soapbox, and it's well deserved. We'll start off with Bo's team. Where this Notre Dame team decided to come up, I have no idea, but 66-7 in a blowaway victory. Um, what are your thoughts on it?
So far, under Freeman, normally after a loss, we typically have been averaging around 40 points. So, I knew they were probably going to kill him. To that particular extent, I didn't think we'd blow them out by almost 60 points, but, I was expecting at least like a 3 touchdown win in that game. So, they ran the hell out of the ball, which I think is what they should be doing, but they really need to figure out something for Leonard, and if not, if really he's not working out, and I hate saying this, but Angeli's a perfect backup, and he could utilize the receivers a lot better, but that's just kind of where I stand on that. But
Yeah, Leonard was 11 for 16, 112 yards, but he led the team in he was 9 yards short of leading the team in rushing. He had 100 yards on 11 carries. Love had 9 more yards than him. So, but y'all actually look like a complete team. Y'all did both aspects of football. Y'all passed and ran. Um, but hey, that's what you want to see after a upset loss like that. You want to see your team bounce back, and that was
yeah,
hell.
especially from now 23 ranked Northern Illinois. I just checked the AP polls and saw they were ranked.
Yeah,
So that shocked me a little bit, but
yeah,
when you take down the number 18 in the country at the time, you deserve to be ranked.
yeah. When you said that, I was like, wait, are they really ranked? So I had to go double check and notice that. But yeah, it was just steady game. Looked pretty easy for Notre Dame to get it done. Who does Notre Dame have this week?
Oh gosh, can one of y'all check on that for me? I
Yeah,
cannot remember off the top of my head.
pulling it up right now. Let's see.
College football's such a what have you done for me lately?
Yep, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like Freeman, it's like, hey, this guy's not the answer. Then he drops a 66 bomb on somebody, and it's like, hey,
Yeah.
whatever, we're back.
All's forgiven. All's
Yeah,
forgiven.
we're good to go now.
Miami, Ohio. Y'all got Miami of Ohio this weekend. Um,
Mm.
but speaking about games, I think the most entertaining game of the weekend was yours, Buddha. Your boys in South Carolina. I thought we all said it was going to be closer than we thought. Originally, I had picked LSU with you two as well, and then switched whenever the chat got on us and was like, "Hey, man, y'all all leaning one way," and I was like, "You know what? I'll go South Carolina. I'll go South Carolina by 10." And they almost did it. If it wasn't for 2 penalty calls, I'm not going to say that they weren't unfair. Hey, they're penalties. You committed the penalties. They are what they are. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was one way or another with the penalty calls. But hey, you make the stupid penalties, they're going to get taken away from you. But LSU walks away with it 36-33. How you feeling about it, Buddha?
I actually feel a lot better today, and I'll address these penalties. I mean, holy shit. Are South Carolina fans crying like some bitches? I don't have another way to put it. They are bitching and whining about this. The horse collar play, they got these morons on Twitter posted that look at the rule, and in the rule it says pads or jersey. I mean, that was a textbook horse collar
Yeah,
penalty. And
absolutely.
then the blindside block, is it soft? Yeah, people are getting stuck though on that it's the quarterback, so they're viewing it as rough. And it's just a blindside block, and he did blindside block him. Now here's the deal: do I think it's a soft penalty? Sure. Talk to your boy Kennard about why you even hitting him. Why are you touching him? Because here's what happened: he tried to make a point and go, "I'm gonna big dick you," basically, and go, "Here, look what we're doing." And then you end up losing the game for your team. But second, the penalties, we can talk about those all day. You go up 17-0 and lose that game at home, that's your own problem. The fact that you completed 3 passes in the second half, where's the flag? That ain't got nothing to do with no flags. Like, I mean, this is the kind of stuff we're talking about, right? Like, I think I'm happier about the LSU game now that I've had time to digest it, kind of look at some stuff. I think that South Carolina front seven, I think their D-line is elite. I think Kennard and Stewart are 2 of the best pass rushers in the game. I actually thought LSU's offensive line played relatively well. I know people are going to freak out. I think the problem is, again, the running backs did not pick up blitzing well, and the tight ends missed a little bit. But neither here nor there. I mean, what a gritty win. It's a good momentum one. You kind of walked into a hornet's nest. I mean, that game went from being nothing to the game of the weekend. I'm talking you. I mean, that place is a buzzsaw you walked into. So to go down 17-0, kind of fight back, get back in it. Realistically, I mean, after it's 17-0, LSU dominated that game from that moment that it went 17-0. You gave up you had two missed run fits on the Lenore Sellers. I think he went 72 and another one was 60 something. You had two missed run fits. Outside of the two missed assignments on defense, South Carolina didn't really do anything. And I know they scored more than those two touchdowns, but you also got LSU fumbled a snap in their red zone. South Carolina did nothing with it. So, from the 17-0 mark, LSU kind of controlled that game. And LSU did everything they could to not win that game. I mean, that game's, 30-29. You have the fumbled snap. They make it 33-29, and then you throw a pick. Then you go 3 and out, then throw a pick, and you still have a chance to win it. So, yeah, I get that people are mad about these penalties. That game did not come down to those two penalties. Those two penalties feel crucial because South Carolina feels like they let one get away from them. That was to be a statement win for Beamer, but I mean, you can't go up 17-0 and then get essentially dominated. And I get Sellers went out the game, and that plays a factor, but it was a clean play, got rolled up on. I mean, that's part of football. I actually feel a little bit better about LSU. I think they probably needed one like that. You lose the USC game to start the year off in a game you feel like you should have won. Then you get one like this that all of a sudden, now you got a team feels like they can win. You show up this next week against a UCLA team that looks bad. If you're an LSU fan, I would feel optimistic. I wouldn't be all griping and bitching about it. Secondly, like I told Pete texted during the game, man, y'all aren't very good. And you can ask him, my response was word for word. I'm aware we're not winning any titles, but it would be a disservice to me as a fan to not be happy about winning football games, especially really fun ones. So if you're an LSU fan, that's how you got to look at it. Are we going to win a national title? Probably not. But don't allow what you think's going to happen at the end of the year to steal away your happiness of a fun ass game. First of all, a really fun game to watch.
Yeah. As frustrating that game was, it was super entertaining to watch. And to let you guys know how dedicated this man is to his LSU Tigers. Buddha FaceTimes us. I didn't realize it was a FaceTime call until after you hung up, but it was on audio when I answered it. Buddha calls us on his way to a wedding in his khaki shorts and his jersey still, with his wife furious because he had to finish watching the game. And I'm like, that's why that's my guy right there. That's why that's my guy right there. And he's like, hey, man, I'm just letting you know I'm all right. I might not be living too longer because Allison's kind of mad. But I was like, why is that? He said,
oh, dude,
I'm in my khakis and my jersey right now. We're heading to a wedding. She's already in her dress. I was like, oh, man.
Dude, am I nuts? Or was that not the longest game in the history of college football? That game, because at 11 o'clock, she's like, we got to leave here at about 3. I'm like, oh, we'll be done in plenty time. And then I'm like, oh, we might go to overtime. We might be there till 4.
Yeah, it seemed like it ran long. Like it ran a good while. And it was back and forth. I do notice something that did come up. Y'all found a running back in Caden Durden.
Oh, yeah, I was going to touch on him when we got the player of the week because he's my guy for that. No doubt. Unbelievable.
I also want to touch on some things that I saw. This is just my point of view. It's not anything people got to go on and sell on it or anything else, but it's my point of view, and I want your reaction to it. I'm kind of concerned about Nuss. He was making some bad mistakes with throwing the ball from here and there. It seemed like he was rushing stuff too. Like it seemed like as soon as anyone would get near him, he was trying to get rid of the ball as quick as possible to anyone in the area. And then something that you touched on, you said it in the beginning of the year, and I didn't notice it until this game. You were like, hey, Mason's a great tight end when he's catching the ball. When he's blocking, he's not good at all. And it stood out to me. I even texted us in the group, and I was like, you were right. Mason Taylor cannot block whatsoever.
Nobody in that tight end room came. They moved a backup left tackle to tight end. They put a defensive end, Gabe Relaford, also at tight end and at fullback to try to make up for it. I mean, it's a problem they got.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with Nuss, I'll touch on that real quick. I knew going into the year, Nuss is gonna make bonehead decisions. He's a gunslinger at heart, right? I thought early in the game he played a lot off of his back foot, and that was an issue I had with him. I do think he settled in. Now you got to remember that's his first road SEC start, right? It's his fourth start of his career. It's his first ever road one. Again, you walked into a buzzsaw. I thought he looked really bad to start. I don't think it helps that you had missed assignments blocking, which got guys on him. But I thought he really settled in, and I thought he played well down the stretch. I mean, that's a big drive. You got to go 50 to go score and take the lead, and he made some big time throws. But again, I mean, it's his third start or fourth start, first road start. I mean, I think there's a lot more positive out of him than negative, but I do think there was some negative stuff that he's got to grow from. I mean, he made the throw that sticks out to me isn't the pick, isn't the interception. It was the one that should have been picked off, where he threw across his body into the end zone to Kamori and Pimpton, and it didn't. Now that's the one where he's a gunslinger. Where I love the mindset of I can make the play, but he don't do that one. But ball gets dropped, we go to film room, we fix that one. But I thought he had some negatives, but I thought there was more positive than negative. At the end of the day, he still went for 285 and 2 tuds.
Yeah. Another person that stood out to me for you guys is Aaron Anderson. This guy said, "Hey, guess what? I could play some ball. I forgot to write down Lacey's numbers, but Lacey was kind of not a factor in the game. Anderson was making everything for y'all, which looked great. Here's another thing I want to ask you about. I don't like it, but it might be just my point of view or whatever. The dancing after that close win. Like, what are you dancing and celebrating for? Like, I understand you're happy for a win. You're happy for a close game win, but to celebrate it in that manner, I was just kind of like, I don't know.
Here's my theory on that. I mean, this is a team that, I mean, they hear the noise, right? Like, it ain't 2002. It ain't 1998. Like, everybody's got social media. They know what people are saying about them. And again, that's a tough environment. You probably should have won by more, but like, I get that, and I'm cool with it. It's kind of the first time this season I've kind of seen the team seem like they have some type of swagger with them, and I'm happy. I mean, I'm okay with it. It doesn't bug me. I know you said Lacey wasn't a factor. When you needed him, he showed up.
Well, yeah,
and he made a huge play. Like,
yeah. He kind of did like what you said. You alluded to Isaiah Bond. Like, he wasn't there until he was there. Like, you kind of forget about him, and then it was like when Anderson was just.
Again, dude, I think that South Carolina defense is a lot better than people think. I mean, I think they got multiple pros on that defense, and I think they came on a good game plan. They really, if you watch the first quarter of that game, obviously at 17-0, they shocked LSU. I mean, LSU didn't know what to do on offense. So Lacey he did have his best game, but when you needed him, he made the play.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on. This defense, something's got to happen with this defense. 243 yards on the ground was.
See, and look, so this is where we're going to really differ. I actually think I went back and looked at my text messages and my group text with LSU guys. I said great series on defense a ton. I actually thought the defense played pretty good. They gave up that many yards rushing. 150 of it came on 2 missed assignments. Outside of that, the run defense was pretty solid. Now, that's the caveat when you give up big plays. I mean, that's the end-all, be-all. But I do think watching it in totality, there's a lot of positives on that run defense. They missed a gap, or they fit the wrong gap on 2 separate runs that go for 70 yards. So there's 150 of it right there. Boom. You take that 150 away, and all of a sudden it looks a lot better against a team that could only run the ball in the second half. So now, do I think this is a great defense? No. I do think it's worlds better than last year. And I do think it's good enough to win you games and keep you in stuff against teams that are of that caliber or maybe a little bit better. I thought they played pretty solid. I thought Braden Swinson he was SEC Defensive Player of the Week or Defensive End of the Week. He played phenomenal. Again, raw stats are sometimes weird to look at because, 2 70-yard runs take it away. And then you look at the rest of it, though, and they gave up less than 250 total offense, and they gave up like 94 rushing yards, whatever the number would have been.
Yeah. outside of that, like I said, it was a sloppy game. We were talking back and forth about it, but it goes back to what you said uh, about Texas joining the SEC. You're like, hey, you're going to get in these dogfights that you're not supposed to be in. And I mean, hey. At the end of the day, it's an ugly win, but it's a road win in the SEC, so it's got to count for something. It was, like I said, it was probably the most entertaining game of the weekend. We were all glued into it, talking mess back and forth. Um, let's touch on Texas. I mean, Texas came out. Well, first, before we get to the score, Quinn Ewers is going to be day to day. He has an abdominal strain. He's going to be day to day, so he probably won't play in ULM. I wouldn't play him if I'm Sark. I would say, you know what, you don't need to play this game. It's not anything you really got to worry about. And honestly, I'd probably consider maybe having him sit for Mississippi State as well, but just to get ready for.
Is that the SEC opener?
Yeah, but he's probably going to play Mississippi State.
I would think.
I'd probably say once the game gets in control, you see him get pulled just because you got a bye week and then you got OU and Georgia back to back. But boy, was this the coming out party for Mr. Arch Manning. He kind of showed that I know it is against UTSA, but he kind of showed he is as advertised. His first play was a touchdown pass. And then after that, it was just, he looked shaky on some drives. He did look like he was rushing throws and everything else. And then he settled in. And once he settled in, man, 19 of 12, 223 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had 3 rushes for 53 yards. One of those was a 67, but he did occur a sack later in the game for a touchdown. And that 67-yard touchdown run was the longest run since Vince Young. And homie was rolling. He was rolling. They clocked him at 20.7 miles per hour. And then to outrun a safety is something crazy too. Like, I mean, I understand getting past the linebackers and everybody else, but to have not get chased down by safety is something great. Isaiah Bond showed up big time. 5 catches, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jonte Cook showed up. He had 2 touchdowns himself. This freshman running back that I've been speaking about, Gibson, 75 yards, was going off. Blue actually sat out the whole game. Jaden Blue did not play at all due to injury. He twisted his ankle in the Michigan game. They didn't want to risk it, so they gave him a break. Wingo also showed up, another young guy, got a touchdown. He had 3 catches for 127 yards. The things that stood out to me was the offensive line yet again. The highest scored offensive line this year so far. 92.5 as a team in pass blocking. 4 of the linemen graded 80 or better. The only one that missed it was 79.8 as your offensive line. Insane. Texas is. I wish I did not write it down, but I should have. Also talking about the defense. The defensive front is playing lights out right now. Lights out. The position that I was most worried about than anything else was the defensive tackles, and they showed up yet again and just shut any and everything down. Then here's a fun fact about Arch. In the last 25 years, only one player in FBS and in the NFL has had a 75-yard touchdown pass, a 65-yard touchdown run, and another 50-yard touchdown pass in the same game, and it's Arch. And he came off the bench to do it, and he only played 15 minutes of the game. Like, the kid is all that and a bag of chips so far. Again, it's against UTSA.
He looks great though. He looks phenomenal.
Yeah, any and everything he did kind of looked great. Other than that, I mean, we're heading into kind of a lower week as far as all of our teams go. Texas plays another small, easy school in UL Monroe. LSU plays UCLA, which I think UCLA doesn't. They just lost by 20 to who did they play? I forgot who beat them.
They played in IU. They played IU last week and lost.
It was like at one point that game was like 42-13.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and it was at home as well.
I'll tell you this with Texas, dude. I've got where's the Mississippi State game at?
It's in Austin. No, it's in Mississippi State.
So I'll circle that one because I mean we saw this in the SEC this weekend. Like LSU goes on the road and gets in a battle. Georgia almost gets got. But I think the real game for Texas that I think everybody's got circled. Is that Georgia game?
No, I'm sorry. It is in Austin. It is in
It is
Austin.
in Austin. Then
It
never
is.
mind. No concern on that one.
Yeah.
I do. The Georgia game is one I have circled just because I'm really, really. I think Texas is the best team in the country right now. I'm jacked up to see them against what I would consider a real challenge. I think we thought Michigan was, and then Michigan basically Arkansas State gave them all it could handle. So
Yeah.
I'm ready to see Texas play. The OU game is going to be a really fun one for them. I'm really excited to see how good do they stack up against a top tier team. I think right
Yeah.
now they're the best team in the country. They're the most complete team. But I'm really excited to see them against somebody that's
I think
a
what
legit team.
Yeah, what stood out to me more than anything else is, of course, I'm a Texas fan, so I'm gonna lean Texas all the way on everything. The biggest thing for me that stood out more than anything else was that there was no big dip in quarterback play when Arch went in. I didn't assume there was going to be, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't assume Arch would play as good as he played either. Because there's always going to be a dip. Like Quinn is a decision maker; he makes the right decisions on the right time. Stuff like he did have a bad interception in the game too. I'm not sure if y'all saw that or not. And they were saying that he before he got hurt and went out, they were saying something was wrong with his wrist because when he threw the pass before, he had hit the player's helmet and you saw him messing with his wrist and he wasn't shaking people's hand with that hand and everything else. And then 2 plays later, he threw a pick. But then 3 plays later after that, he got injured and was pulled from the game. But I was kind of like, all right, well, they're probably going to let up. They're not going to do as much as they normally do because Quinn's not in. You're going to see safe play calls, and Sark was like, nope, we're running our offense like normal, and no, nothing was missed. There was no skip in anything.
When are we gonna? I mean, I'm really high on Quinn.
Injury is
He
an issue.
he can't stay healthy. I mean, this is just another year we roll out, and look, again, it's not his fault, right? Like it's just a bad luck of the draw. But this is now 3 years where more than likely he won't play this week,
Yeah,
right? Like
Which,
more than likely you sit him.
yeah, and I think that's why he was so upset because a lot of people thought that he was going to be hurt for a longer time because of his reaction on the sidelines. I think his reaction is more it's going to hurt his options for the Heisman and his draft stock.
Yeah, the draft stock's the one to me where you look at it and you go, we don't have a full year tape with this guy not getting injured.
Yeah, which is and you hate to see it. The dude's a great quarterback. He just got to stay healthy, and I don't. And honestly, and what it was the play that he got hurt on was someone got through, and he kind of rushed outside of the pocket and then took the hit. So it was kind of like not really the offensive line's fault, not really Quinn's, like kind of a mixture of both. You just hate to see it. It sucked that it happened, but he'll bounce back and hopefully he can finish out. I like you said. I think he'll set out UL Monroe. I think he'll play a portion of Mississippi State, and then he'll get rest with a bye week, and then we got OU Georgia and a game that is now circled on my calendar that wasn't before is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's playing some ball right now. They look like a good ball team. But let's touch on what we got coming up. Well, let's touch on some of the other games that happened over the weekend. We all were concerned, or not concerned, we're going to be tuned in for the Tulane OU game, and OU won it, but they still didn't.
OU came in, handled business. I mean,
That game was a lot closer than the final score.
yeah,
That game was a question mark with about 10 minutes left still.
Yeah, it was. But you saw a little bit more from OU's offense, so it gives OU fans and the team a little confidence moving forward because their offensive line held up a little bit better than they have been. But coming up, they got Tennessee. That's going to be a big one. We're going to see how good that defense is.
That's the thing. Can you confuse Nico?
Yeah, we're gonna see how good, because OU fans' biggest things is our defense is this, our defense is that. We create turnovers. Well, all right, now it's your turn to show you that you're an elite defense. We've been hearing it from everyone else. That your defense is it. That's what keeps y'all in game. Let's see it now, because now you got a gunslinger coming into Norman that looking to make you a staple game of saying, hey, this is what we can do moving forward.
They've got to get exotic on Nico, man. I mean, Nico's really good. I do think, though, he's a freshman, so I think there's some room to confuse him. I think there's a room to show him some different looks that he hasn't seen and get him out of his element. And that's not a knock on Nico. I think Nico is phenomenal, but I do think there's a chance to get him uncomfortable. But here's the problem: on the flip side, Tennessee could do the same shit to Jackson Arnold. Like it could
Absolutely.
have. This game
And
could turn into which
yeah,
freshman has got the best brain on him.
I think, I think the big difference in between the two is Nico's got a way better offensive line.
I would agree with that. Yes, absolutely.
So Jackson Jackson Arnold's going to be taking on a lot with that offensive line. Still, they look better against Tulane, but now they're going to go against probably the best defense they played, or the best defense they played all year.
And I mean, and you got to remember that Tennessee D line's got James Pierce, who's probably a top 10 pick. I mean, they've got a legitimate guy on that D line that
Yeah,
that could be a game wrecker. I mean, the game could end right. I mean, it could be him.
yeah. That's probably where it's going to start and finish. I think that's where the game's going to be won by either one of the teams, because I think their defense slows Tennessee down, but I don't think their offense has what it takes to answer Tennessee when Tennessee wants to score the ball. Wants to score. Like I don't think
Well,
they have.
and that's the other thing is I've got a pretty close friend of mine who's a Tennessee fan, so I've been tuning into the games a little bit, checking box scores and things afterwards. And really, on their offense, there's really not like one person they necessarily target every game. Nico like spreads the wealth to every receiver they have, and if they can't get anything, they've got two capable backs that can both rush for about 100 yards on your head. So I mean, and I don't know if you guys have been checking the scores or not, but I mean, they've been dog walking teams and keeping them to about 6 to 13 points or less. So, I mean, Oklahoma's in for a dogfight this week. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a tough road for them. But
absolutely, and that's one of our picks that we'll save for Friday for our picks. I will release our pick list that we have coming up here once we drop this pod. But let's talk about the other big game that happened this weekend with another head scratcher where everyone was kind of wondering what's going on. Georgia and Kentucky. What Kentucky? Yeah, like what is Kentucky doing? Like there was certain times where I'm like, y'all can win this game right here, and they just didn't put them away.
Well,
And
this happened to Georgia last year against South Carolina, right? This is kind of what we alluded to earlier. This is welcome to a road game in the SEC. You know, you get a crowd that's getting after it. It kind of, the cliche, like, it's that team Super Bowl, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's one of these games where it's a talented roster. These are SEC kids, but it's got a little bit of that small school feel to it where, like, it's happened to our schools, right? Like, the worst thing you can do in those games when you're way better is give a team hope and leave them in it, because then they keep fighting and you start to stop fighting. And that's what happened to Georgia. I still think Georgia's the second best team in the country. Like, they're still.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
remember, this happened last year against South Carolina. Spencer Rattler had them on the ropes, and Georgia just figured out a way to lead with a W. And then here they came. I think it's the same thing this year. I wouldn't be alarmed if I was a Bulldog fan. I'd be more like, okay, we survived that one. Like, Texas is going to have a game at some point this year where
oh, yeah.
you're like, whoa, hey,
Where did this
like,
come from?
yeah, like, and then you'll get out of there with a W. And that's all you do. You just survive in advance. You go, we'll keep playing.
Yeah, that was a very entertaining one. It was late. I'm not gonna lie to you. I forgot that it was on because I was watching the UFC and then I was like, oh wait, let me go tune in. Or I didn't even pay attention to it. But I think my nephew texted and was like, "What is going on with Georgia?" And I was like, "What?" And I flipped it off. What the hell is going on? Like, oh my goodness!
I was sitting at the fall wedding, which all-time bad move, fall wedding. Huge thumbs down. Huge thumbs down on a fall wedding. Bad decision. Don't do it. Sometimes you got to bite the bullet as a guest, and it really feels like you're biting a true bullet. Like, it really feels like just lead going in you. Because, like, I would much rather watch this game, but that's neither here nor there. We're checking at the wedding, looking at the score, and we're like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. And it was like, all right, it's halftime. All right, let's see. And then it's like, hey, it's 13-12. I was like, oh, 13-12.
Jeez, yeah, I couldn't imagine being at a wedding during college football. It would. One of my friends did get married during college football, but he got married like I think it was like week 1 or 2. It was super. He was like, if we were gonna do it, we're gonna do it early. And
I'm 2 for 3 on college football weekend so far. 2 for 3.
you're telling me I've got a wedding at the end of the month and I've got two next month. I have a wedding on the biggest day of college football on the 12th.
Are you in it?
Oh
Are you
my!
in it? Are
I'm
you
not in it, no, but I have to
miss it?
go. I
I'll
have
tell
to
you right
go.
now, if any of my friends are listening, if you got some jackass wedding on October 12th, I'm not coming. And if it sacrifices our friendship, that's something I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm watching college football October 12th. I'm just letting you know.
Uh,
And
Yeah,
I've got a buddy of mine. He actually didn't go to his cousin's wedding because Notre Dame had a game that day, and he ended up skipping and then stayed at home and watched the game. He goes, "Yeah, I'll send you guys a gift. They'll be fine."
yeah,
oh man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Who does Georgia have this week? I think the only big games this week are the ones that we're going to be picking on. I know that. Um, outside of that, I'm trying to think of what happened over the weekend that we could discuss. I think that's pretty much everything from that. I guess. I mean, there were really any big games NFL wise
Kansas State,
or
Kansas
college.
State,
Yeah, Kansas
Kansas
State did.
State dog walked.
Yeah,
Arizona.
Kansas State. Yeah, and me and Bo
They
both picked
did. They
Arizona.
really did. It was
Yeah,
that was bad. That was
I told you
real
I
bad.
thought it was going to be 2 touchdowns.
it,
I did not think that Arizona was. I think Fafita's good and I think McMillan's good, but I didn't think. I mean, they got a new head coach this year. Like
they lost their DC. Their DC's at Texas now too. As an assistant, he's not even a DC. He's just an assistant. Like
Which
we're almost.
also
I still thought Arizona was going to win that game, but
got shut out. But one thing I do want to touch on though, Memphis over FSU. Just
hey,
saying,
you
pick of the
called it.
week.
Oh, it
You
was all
all
over
over
it.
it.
It was all over. You
Hey,
were all over it.
I was all over that pick, and they beat them by 8. So I mean, you know, they reverse spread them. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, they covered their spread then some. So I mean, you know,
the,
like I said, Memphis looked good. They were quick on the ball. Um, Memphis's quarterback, like I said, he ended up covering his line as well. So I mean, it was a good win for the Tigers. So
so I did.
Mike Norvell's in trouble. I mean, he got DJ Pooh at quarterback. I mean, he's in trouble, dude. I mean, they might not win 2 games this year. They
Mike,
are they are horrible.
how about this though? Here's something crazy for you. How about two of the top teams in Florida are about to fire both of their coaches? Because Florida held a meeting Sunday about Billy Napier. I don't think
Sunbelt
Norvell.
Billy.
I don't think Mike Norvell keeps his job at FSU. So you got two big time openings. Who's going to go there? I'll tell
You
you.
know,
I think where one's going to go. FSU is going to one person and one person only.
I think we all know.
I don't
I,
think they do.
I think it's
You
Dion.
I
you
don't
really
think
don't
they
think they
do.
go after Prime?
I don't, and here's why. I think it's too big of a program that sniffed success here recently. And I think you look at the body of work Dion's got and you go, it ain't very good. And like we would love to have Dion, but he's not a good enough coach. I'll tell you the one I think happens, and I hate this because it's a big rival for. I think Lane Kiffin ends up in
I,
Gainesville.
everyone is saying that.
I
Everyone,
really do. It's a better job than Ole Miss. We get. I know Ole Miss is ranked in the top 5. There's more resources. It's a better recruiting bed. Florida's a better job than Ole Miss. That's just a testament to what Lane has done at Ole Miss. Is what they are.
yeah, but that's like, and Lane's known for leaving big universities for other ones. He's done it. He left Tennessee for USC, and then things didn't work out at USC, and he ended up at FIU, and then ended up at Ole Miss, and now that's everyone's saying it. Everyone's saying Lane to Florida, Lane to Florida. I for some odd, like, I like Lane, I really do. I don't see him leaving Ole Miss, but then again, I don't know because, like you said, it's a bigger program, it's a bigger recruiting bed. But does he leave what he built at Ole Miss to rebuild again at Florida? That's a
I mean,
huge thing to do.
yeah, I think he loves that challenge. I do. I just think Florida's a better job, and I know Ole Miss fans are going to listen and be like, "Oh, no, okay, we're ranked 5." You hit one home run, you're not Barry Bonds. Like,
Yeah,
let's just make that a fact right now. Like, Ole Miss, you've been irrelevant for the history of your program. You had one good year, and you're starting off another one hot. Like, the Florida job's a better job.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that. It's just the only thing I don't know. I don't know. I can see it happening, but I'm just like, it would shock me. It would, but I mean, that's what, like you said, that's what Lane does. Lane loves rebuilding too, though, because that's what I mean.
he like Jimbo Fisher back to Florida State.
Oh man, Oh man. Here's something that I said earlier in the year. I said it to our buddy Cole, and I'm gonna do Cole. Had a fun pitch that I sent to Cole. We're gonna do we'll do it on Fridays or we'll do it on here. I forgot to write the notes down that he sent me this week though, but it's gonna be called Notes from the Studio from producer Cole, and he's gonna give us some fun facts about stuff going around in the SEC that no one thought of or the NCAA. And he gave me a great list too. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I forgot to write it down. I was like, all right, let me get all these notes in, and I completely forgot. So we'll run with that on Friday. But I told him, I was like, hey, you know what I could see happening? I could see Brian Kelly having a great year this year, having a mediocre year next year, and then LSU going, we're gonna go after Saban and just cut the cord and go after Saban.
I don't know if I'd want that, man.
The reason I say it is because, like you pointed out, and he says it every week. And the second he says it, Twitter blows up. He builds up LSU every time he gets a
He loves
microphone.
them. No, he's a huge LSU fan.
Yeah, that's what. And you know what's going to happen? The boosters and everyone else is going to be like, he's talking about us. Let's try to get him for a year or two. Let's throw a shit ton of money at him and say, hey, coach, we'll only want you for 2 or 3 years until we can get something established. Which isn't a bad idea, but does it happen or does it work?
I don't think it happens, right? I mean, realistically, you're 2 years away from Brian Kelly not being the coach, even if the wheels fall off. Like realistic, Kelly's probably going to be a head coach at LSU for another 4 or 5 years. I don't know if he does the full 10, right? Like he may, but like if you're an LSU fan ready for Brian Kelly to be gone, like buckle in. You got probably 4 more seasons at best case scenario is what I would think, unless the wheels fall off this year and next year. Like he can lose every game the rest of the season by 50 points, and he's the head coach next year. So like, and I put on Twitter like I don't know, it might be done. Let's ride out the 2 years. And people are like, do you know the buyout? Hence why I said 2 years. Like the buyout starts to get a little more feasible. But realistically, he's the head coach at LSU for the foreseeable future. And by that point, Saban would be 82.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be in his 80s. Like, as cool as a pipe dream as that sounds like to a lot of people, it's like nobody wants to hire an 80-year-old.
Yeah. The other thing that I literally just looked down, I forgot that I wanted to touch on about LSU as well. If Brian Kelly doesn't start cleaning this game, like this squad up and start getting some wins and bigger wins too, that draft class might be. I mean, not draft class. That recruiting class might start to shake up because it's shaking up with other programs with them not doing well.
Yeah, I think LSU's doing good enough, and I think the recruiting class, like listening to some of the insiders that do it, Shea Dixon is a big name. They kind of view this recruiting class, and the recruiting class has kind of been pitched the idea of don't look at the results, look at the positions we put guys in. You're better than these guys. This is a good scheme. And I think they're kind of doing so. Like the Calvary's on the way for LSU. I mean, you got 2 top 10 cornerbacks committed. You got a ton of D linemen committed. So the pitch has kind of been, we screwed this up. We brought in a new coach who wants you. Look at the position he gets people in. Don't look at the result. You're better than them. Yeah. You're coming win jobs.
That's the other thing. Another game with Perkins not really standing out that much. Like
it's nuts though. But then they show the graphic on ABC, and they're like, plays that he's in, the pressures are up like 75%, and it's like maybe he's playing really well, and we just can't see it with the naked eye.
Yeah,
like because he does make an impact. I mean, in a fumble recovery too.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think probably more set than anything else is we're so big on Perkins that we're waiting for him to have that dominant game where he's everywhere. He's making all the plays, and he's not. He's making enough to help out, and his core team around him is stepping up and off of plays that he makes. Like he disrupts the play, and they get the credit for it. And I guess we're not seeing that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think with the naked eye we can see it, but like when you look at the advanced stats, it's like they're clearly night and day different of a defense when he's on the field versus not.
Yeah.
So he's got to be doing something.
I think we pretty much covered everything college-wise.
Players of the week?
What's that?
Players of the week?
Yeah, player of the week. Let's go. I'll start it off. My player of the week, of course, rocking his jersey for sure, is the young Manning. proving that Mannings can run the football. So that was my player of the week is Arch Manning. Dude stood up, and kind of did everything. Who
Well,
you
like
got?
his granddaddy out there running that
Exactly.
ball.
Hey, did you hear what he said though? He gave credit. He said, "I get my speed from my mom."
Oh.
And then Cooper came out and goes, "I can confirm he got his speed." All right, Bo, who you got? Who's your player of the week?
So, I mean, outside of Ashton Genty, obviously not playing last week, he'll be back next week. Don't worry, everybody. But to fill in for the spot, I'm going with QB phenom Cam Ward from Miami. Dude has absolutely been killing it since week 1 against Florida. Dog walked them, and I think he polished off this week with another 346-yard passing performance. I think he had 4 or 5 touchdowns on top of that. So, I mean, that's kind of been his typical stat line week in, week out. So, and I think he's got the third or fourth best Heisman odds right now. So, I mean, I'm going to be rolling with my guy Cam this week.
Yeah. I think he actually stepped up. I'm not sure what he is now in the rankings. I know he moved up a lot. I think he might be number 1, honestly. But
He's got to be number 1 or 2 probably because Genty didn't play last week, and then obviously with Quinn getting hurt, that kind of hurt his stock a little bit. So I'm assuming he's probably up there, and honestly, I could see Jackson Dart being up there as well. I think in the race.
Yep. Who you got, Buddha?
I'm going to go with freshman running back from LSU, Caden Durham. Went for 11 carries, 98 yards, averaged 8.9 a carry. And the cherry on top, he went for 2 touchdowns, which is the first time an LSU freshman running back's gone for 2 touchdowns in an SEC game since Leonard Fournette. LSU's had a ton of questions at running back. Caden Durham emphatically answered that they got to answer at running back. Look, he's going to have freshman mistakes, but you can credit a lot of that W to he showed up and started playing. I mean, so Caden Durham's my player of the week.
I got you. I hear you. I agree. I mean, that's not a bad pick. That is awesome. All right. That pretty much covers college. I think that's it. We don't really need to cover anything else today, guys.
Hey, look. I would like everybody to bow your heads and have a moment of silence for Jerry Jones's wallet because he killed all that money giving it to Dak Prescott, $240 million to throw 2 picks. The Saints are up, right? I mean, we are up. New Orleans is back. The Saints are like the best team in the NFL. We showed up, spanked them, took over Jerry's world, which, yeah, congrats. 16 straight wins at home. This is now back-to-back games at home where you got pummeled. The Cowboys are done. The Saints are going up. It wasn't even a game. I know you said when they scored the touchdown in the third quarter, that game was over when they made it 35-13. My AC was out, and I was still feeling good. That's how good I was feeling, dude. I mean, it wasn't even a game. Belt to ass all day. Who dat?
Yeah, I couldn't say anything. I just sat there and took it. I was like, man, this is just ridiculous. Like, are you kidding me? Nothing like. I have no answers. Like, I don't know what they were doing on either side of the ball. And like I said before we even started this, where did this Saints team come from?
Well, here's the deal. What are they bad at? Me and my dad were talking, dude. What are they bad at?
They were 15 for 15 on possessions and touchdowns at one point. And then the Bleacher Report released it on Twitter, and they turned the ball over the next series. It was their first turnover. Other than that, for 15 consecutive drives from week 1 till then, they scored every single time they had the ball. Like,
yeah, they turned it over, and the defense said, "We get it, no big deal, Derek." Honey Badger said, "I got you, brother. I'll just pick it right back off. Let's give you another shot at it." Right? The only thing that stopped the Saints offense yesterday was the Saints play calling. The game got so out of hand, they just went, here, run up the middle. If the Cowboys could have kept scoring, the Saints might have dropped 60. I mean, the Cowboys had 0 answers. I mean, I think the Saints at one point were averaging like 7.6 yards a rush. I know late in the second quarter, they were averaging 18.6 yards a play at one point.
It was ridiculous. They couldn't do anything. Like, it was, I was literally like, what is going on here? Like,
I'll tell you what. One guy on the Saints that's really surprised me. I mean, obviously just the last 2 weeks, but I mean Rashid Shaheed.
Dog. He's been a
I
dog
mean,
too, though.
he's been playing. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, you're not even hearing Chris Olave anymore. It's the Kamara and Shaheed show. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they're both playing out of their minds.
So since Shaheed got into the league, it's a fact he's the second best deep threat in the NFL. It's Tyreek Hill's one and he's two, and they do that based off of plays over 35 yards, and Shaheed's number two in that list behind Tyreek Hill. I mean, he was great last year. I think the biggest testament is Pete Carmichael should never coach football ever again. Pete Carmichael's the worst offensive coach to ever live. I mean, it's horrible. You're telling me this was in the tank and this dude had to score 9 points? I mean, Pete Carmichael is bad, dog shit. I think Sean Payton's also bad. I'm starting to lean more on the thing of this was the Drew Brees show. Because if Pete Carmichael was running Sean Payton's offense, that shit don't work. Because I thought it was Derek Carr. I thought it was Kamara was washed. I thought Olave wasn't a one. I thought Shaheed was only a deep threat. This cat shows up, mad scientist, looks like he's in the movie Back to the Future. He's got the car. I mean, we rocking and rolling. We're on pace to score like 700 points this year.
Yeah, Derek Carr looked lights out. Like everything he was throwing was.
He leads the league in passer
I
rating.
was literally sitting there going, "Who the hell is this team?" I'm like, "Who is this? Like, what team is this right now? This isn't."
That is pre-injury Raiders Derek Carr that everybody thought was an MVP candidate.
Dude,
and that's what he should be playing. That's how he should be playing.
We
I
are
love
so
Derek
complete.
Carr.
We get after the quarterback. We run the ball effectively. We involve everybody, tight ends, wide receivers. Well, I mean, we handed the ball off to Shaheed. We were like, oh, this is getting boring. Let Kamara run all over him. Shaheed, you go line up back there. We'll just hand it off to you, bud. Hey, you want to go for 10 yards? Here you go. Go get you one.
There's one person on the Saints roster that I'll always be a fan of. I hated him in college. Is Taysom Hill because he destroyed Texas when he
He's
played
so
for
good.
BYU. But this dude is probably he doesn't get the stats. He's the greatest football player of all time because he can play any.
I agree.
They put him tight end. They put him at fullback. They put him at tailback. He returns kicks. And then if they want to get gimmicky, he can throw the ball too. Like the dude does it all. He's literally a Swiss Army's knife to no end. Like the dude is a beast.
I don't remember if it was on one of our lives or on here or what, and I still believe this. I think they should figure out a way. He should be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. He won't have the numbers anywhere, but you can't tell me that he's not one of the best football players to ever put pads on. I mean, he is.
You could line him up anywhere.
Exactly. He blocks once. He plays quarterback. He plays tight end. He played fullback. He plays fullback and is the lead blocker and then rolls out and goes catch balls and then lines up at quarterback and then goes, I'll go return kicks.
Yeah, like he does it all. He's like I said, he is the complete football player. It's
unreal.
You can't tell him he can't play something because he's going to be like, all right, watch me. All right, watch me. And then he'll go do it. And then he'll probably do it better than some of the people you got on your roster. And you're like, what's this guy play? Oh, everything. That's his position. Everything. I guarantee that's what they need to do on Madden. Under his, like in his listing on the depth chart, it should say E for everything, where you can line him up everywhere. Because I guarantee you could probably line him up and he could probably either cover a receiver or play linebacker and disrupt the ball game. Guaranteed.
Well, Dennis Allen's come out and said that early in his career that they talked to Sean Payton about, like, we'd like to try him at safety or linebacker. And Sean Payton was like, no, you're not getting – I need him on offense. But Dennis Allen's come out again and been like, I mean, I think he would hurt people if he played defense. I mean, like, I think he could play safety and he would hurt people.
Yeah. My brother did say it too. He said it literally while the Cowboys were getting spanked down. My nephew was like, "What is going on in the NFL?" Because San Francisco lost. What other big teams lost that weren't supposed to?
The Lions.
The Lions
lost. Who'd the Vikings play?
The Vikings won.
Well, no, I know they won, but who'd they play though?
I forgot who they played. Oh, but while we're on it, what's going on with the Bengals and what's his name? The receiver. Like it is.
Oh, Jamar Chase. That's becoming incredibly toxic. I have no idea. That dude, he's going to end up somewhere else. Like next year, I hate it for him, but he's going to go somewhere else.
Like my buddy Mike Hard said it this morning on his show. He said, "Hey, it's well known that Cincinnati is the cheapest organization in the league. That's why he isn't getting paid his money." And he thought maybe, oh, you know what, I will work it out. And now he came out today and said he's not even negotiating with them anymore.
I don't know.
Like,
Here's the deal. I think he ends up somewhere else. I don't know who's going to pay him because who would be in the market for a wide receiver that hadn't already just paid one? Like the answer is always like, oh, the Cowboys. They just paid CD.
yeah, they're not in the market
Like,
for another.
who's in the market to go? Like, we're going to dump a bag on a wide receiver.
Come on, Indy. Come on,
It's
Colts.
probably in the chain. It's probably not a crazy thought, but like, I don't know. I do think Joe, the risk deal is affecting him a little bit more than people think.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you about that too, the whole
I
risk
think
deal, because
I think the wrist is affecting him a little bit. Since he's in a weird spot though, right? Because like,
I think what stood out to me more than anything else was when him and Joe started getting into it with when he was arguing with the refs. I was like, whoa, you've never seen that before.
no, they're like
Like,
best friends. I mean, they're
yeah,
like brothers.
I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And then somebody brought up the question and said, I'll relate to you, Buddha, to see how you answer. The reason that Chase is kind of was trying to work things out is because he wants to stay and play with Joe. At some point, you got to start looking at. Mike said it best on his show. Who will be a future guest on the podcast. He said it on the show. When do you say, "Hey, yes, you're my best friend," but guess what? I got to look to what I'm going to do for the rest of my life outside of this friendship. So if
No,
it's not with you, then I got to go somewhere else. Which sucks because I mean they've been a combo since college.
this is I'm always on the side of the players in these types of things when it comes to money. Like you just watch one of your best friends, Justin Jefferson, get generational money, and you're sitting there going, I showed up with Joe and we went to a Super Bowl, and you don't think I'm worth the money. If I'm a Bengals fan, I know it's easy if you're a Bengals fan to probably be pissed off at Jamar. I'd be looking at your front office going, we just got relevant, and you're allowing the good players to walk out the door? Empty the bag on them. Like, I'd rather go take a swing with my best players than go, nah, like, it's kind of like this. The Bengals to me are rolling out this mindset of like, it's us, not the players. Like, we created this. And also, like, I'm a big Rex Ryan fan. I can't stand these takes on ESPN when they're like, you're mad because you're not getting money? Go show them how good you are. Dude, he already has. It's not a mystery that Jamar Chase is an elite receiver. What does he have to show except risk getting hurt and then getting no money? Like that's why those takes drive me nuts. Go show him how much you're worth. He already has, dude. Like it's not a question what
Yeah.
type of player he is.
Yeah, that literally has me kind of wondering what's going to go on there and where he's going to end up, because I don't think like I'm on the same boat as y'all. I think he's going to end up playing somewhere else. I just don't know where. I have
Better
no
not be
clue.
Atlanta. Better not be Atlanta. I'll vomit. I'd throw up in my hands and put it in my hair like hair Joe.
Hey, can we make that? You know how Barstool had a thing. The dude said he was
No,
going
I'm
to
not
eat.
eating shit out of a red Solo cup. Also, where is that guy? Where's that
No,
guy?
I'm saying you said it. So if he goes to Atlanta, can we get a confirmation?
No.
If he goes to Atlanta, you'll throw up and put it in your hair like he's like, no, not happening. Because
Yeah, but also,
Buddha's luck, it'll
but
happen.
also, can that dude please eat the poo out the red Solo cup? I mean, we need that.
Yeah, he's on my age. He's gone.
No, he came back. He came back after they lost. And he's like, I'm starting to think maybe I'm the reason we're losing.
I didn't see that.
He tweeted it. He tweeted it Saturday night. He's like, I'm starting to think I'm the reason we're losing.
I did not see that. That is too funny. Before we hop off, we'll cover our game day picks and the current standings. So I currently lead with 11-2, and I'm mad that I'm 11-2. I changed a pick that gave me a loss when I changed from LSU to South Carolina. So that was on fat. I kind of thought South Carolina would win it, but then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go all in. I think South Carolina probably isn't going to win. And then he told us something. I was like, all right. So I blame that one on fat. My other loss was Arizona. I blame that one on Bo. Just because I need somebody to blame.
Hey, no, it's all good.
Buddha, you're at 11-3. And Bo, you're at 11-3. What's crazy, though, is Buddha, man, you started off horrible in your picks, man. At one point, you were 1-3.
Now, I ran the table this past week.
Yeah, exactly. But that's it, man. That's all we got for y'all this week. We'll be live on Friday. We will have our picks on Friday as well. Y'all heard our player of the weeks. NFL player of the week. I know you gave up. Yours was Kamara. Mine was also Kamara. Bo, who's your NFL player of the week?
Oh gosh, that's tough. However, I think I'm going to roll with really his come out game this week, but Marvin Harrison Jr. 4 receptions, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first half. Well, I mean, like, I don't know what more you want from the guy. I mean, especially when he's got the Keebler elf throwing to him. I mean,
That angry little baby.
yeah, exactly. You got
That-
that angry toddler running around the field, and he's throwing dots. And he didn't catch another ball in the rest of the game, but, I mean, it's just, that's just showing you what could be. And he could have had a lot better game than that. But, I'm
yeah.
going to roll with Marvin Harrison this week.
All right, I hear you. I got it. All right, guys, that's all we got for y'all. We will see y'all live on Friday with our picks. I'm sure they'll probably have some more things happen through the week. They always do. Something else always pops up, and we have fun with it. And we'll get into all our good picks we got for y'all this week. Other than that, what y'all got for them, fellas?
Look, if text a Cowboys fan, check in on them. They wondering if they still them boys. So just send a text to them and say, I don't know if y'all them boys, but you still my boy. Just send them a nice little text like that. They could use it. So
Uncalled for abuse at the end of the podcast. That's mean. That's just me. You got anything, Bo?
Nope, they got nothing this week. Just a depressed Colts fan. So